Hello everyone and welcome to Yarn Joy Adventures with Cynthia. My name is Cynthia with Cynthia's Joyful Creations and I am so excited that you're here. If you are looking to learn how to do new stitches, projects that you've never done before, maybe projects that you have done before, discussions and talks about all kinds of yarny goodness, then you're in the right place. So what is Yarn Joy Adventures? Well, it is going to be kind of like a crochet along project that might take a couple weeks, might take longer. And I know what you're thinking, Cynthia, I have so many whips, works in progress already going on my hook. I cannot take on one more. Well, I'm here to tell you that it has statistically been proven that when you're working on a big project, that it is always good to do a little bit at a time, put it aside, work on something else, and then go back to it. Because if you work on a big project and you just work on the same project, chances are you're going to become extremely frustrated and you'll start making lots of mistakes and you may not even finish the project. So it's always great to work on it a little bit, put it aside, work on something else, and then go back to it. And the success rate of actually completing that project is really high. So that is what we're going to do. We are going to just have fun and crochet together and make lots of wonderful things. So what are we going to start off with? Well, we're going to start off first learning how to do the textured cluster stitch. Now, I have actually introduced this stitch already in my Fun Day Monday segments on the Longmire blanket. And if you're not familiar with that, please go over and check out the Fun Day Monday series for Longmire. And I would love to have you join us. But back to this project. So we are going to be learning how to do the textured clustered stitch, and we're going to be creating a baby blanket. Now, you can choose to make a blanket however big or small you want. Maybe you want to make a doll blanket. Maybe you want to make a lapgan or a blanket for the couch or a queen size or a king size. It is entirely up to you. But in the tutorial, in the crochet along, we are going to be making a baby size blanket. So what are you going to need? Well, let me tell you about all the items you're going to need. First off, you can use any yarn that you want. I will introduce to you the yarn that I will be using, but you can use any weight, any color. You can use, solids, variegated. You can maybe choose to only do one color. You may choose to do 4 colors like I'm going to be doing. Or maybe you want to do 6 or 8 colors. It is entirely up to you. This will be a very versatile blanket and pattern, so you can create the blanket however you want. I'm just going to give you the basic tools and techniques that you'll need in order to successfully create the blanket of your choosing. So first off, let's look at the yarn that we're going to be using. Again, you can use any kind of yarn that you want. I'm going to be using the Snuggly Wuggly by Loops and Threads. It is a light 3-weight yarn, and let me just give you kind of a little indication there of what that yarn weight looks like. Okay, and these skeins are actually 5-ounce skeins, so that's 446 yards and 141 grams. I'm going to use 4 colors, and the colors that I will be using, and these are all 100% acrylic. And this one is Dove Gray, and then this one is Soft Mint. Hold them back here out of that extra lighting there so you can see them very well. And then this one here is called Cotton Candy, and this one here is called Soft Yellow. So here are the 4 colors. Let me see if I can grab them here that I will be using. Okay? Now, the hook. The hook that is recommended with this yarn is actually a 4mm or the G hook. And I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see this very well. And as you can see right here, It says 4mm or the G hook. And this is what that G hook looks like. I'm going to up it, the hook size just a little bit to an H hook, and that's what it looks like. But let me show you these two hooks together so you can see the difference, but note that they're not a great deal different. So there are the two hooks there. The blue one is the G and the pink one is the H that I will be using. Okay? All right, let me get this focus back in real quick. And then you'll also need a pair of scissors. You'll need a darning needle. And then I like to use these little plastic stitch markers because anytime I'm working on a project, I always like to put one at the very beginning to mark the front side or the right side of my work. And then I always have some kind of cute little stitch marker so that when I'm not working on my project, I can close it off so I don't lose any of my stitches. And so let me show you my cute little Mrs. Potts and Chip stitch marker. And zoomed in. Aren't they adorable? So until my project is finished, this is what I will be using to keep all of my stitches in place. And last but most importantly, always have some lotion on hand to put on your hands because it's real important to always keep your hands, which are your best tools, moisturized and hydrated. Okay? If you're ready to get started, we're going to go over to the craft table, so I'm going to have to pause this a minute to get all set up. In the meantime, if you are enjoying this video and you're excited about working along on all these projects with me, I would appreciate it if you would give this video a like and a thumbs up. I will see you in just a minute over at the craft table. Let's go begin. Hello and welcome to the craft table. Before we get started, I do want to share something with you. As we go through these Yarn Joy adventures, no matter what we do, I'm always going to assume that you have a grasp on the basic understanding and concepts of crocheting. However, with that being said, if ever there's anything that I do that you are unfamiliar with or do not know how to do, or you're struggling to grasp, just drop me a note down in the comment section, please. And it will be my pleasure to create a tutorial video to go over that and demonstrate it so that it is much clearer and allows you to be successful in making your own joyful creations. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our texture cluster stitch baby blanket. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a slip knot. So go ahead and create your slip knot however you are comfortable with. And we're going to create a foundation chain of 159 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whoops, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so just pause the video and continue on until you have 159 chains, and I will meet back up with you there. So when you have your foundation chain made of 159, we're going to go ahead and get started with our clustered stitch baby blanket. And to get started, we are going to work a single crochet in the third chain from the hook. So we're going to skip this first one. we're going to skip the second one, and we're going to go right into this third one and work a single crochet. We're going to go right into that same stitch, and we're going to work 2 double crochets. So we'll have 1 single crochet and 2 double crochets in that one stitch. Okay, so let's take a minute and look at what we have. The chain 2 that we skipped at the beginning is going to actually count as a single crochet. And then the single crochet and 2 double crochet in the same stitch is going to count as our textured cluster stitch. So let's make another one. We're going to skip 2 stitches, so 1, 2, and right here in the third one we're going to go work a single crochet, and then we're going to go right back into that same stitch, and we're going to work a double crochet twice. And this is our second double crochet. And we now have another textured cluster stitch. And so let's skip 2 chains again, 1, 2, and right here in this third one we are going to do another single crochet and add 2 double crochets right into that same stitch. And this is pretty much what we're going to repeat all the way down this row. And there we go, there's another one. Let's do one more together. So skipping 2 stitches, and right here in the third one we're going to work a single crochet, and then we're going to work 2 double crochet. And there we go. So we're going to continue doing this same repeat pattern all the way down the row, skipping 2, working a single crochet, 2 double crochet in each of the next stitch until we get all the way down to the last 3 stitches. And when you get down to the last 3 stitches, I will meet back up with you there. So go ahead and pause the video and work on your clustered stitches, and I will meet you at the very end. We've made it down to the last 3 stitches, and we're going to skip the next 2, and we're going to work a single crochet right here in the very last stitch, and that is going to end row 1. We're going to chain 1, turn our work. I apologize, I might have been a little off camera there. And now we're going to begin row 2. We're going to work a single crochet right here into this very first stitch that we did our chain 1. So work your single crochet. And you can work your tail in from your foundation row as you go if you want, or you can weave it in later. I'm going to just weave it in later. We're now going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to skip 2 stitches. And the 2 stitches that we're skipping are actually the double crochets that we did on the previous row in the cluster stitch. So we're going to skip 1 and we're going to skip 2, and we're going to come to this next stitch, and that is the single crochet that we made in the cluster stitch on the previous row. We're going to make single crochets in this single crochet from the previous row. However, we're only going to work in the back loop. So let's take a look real quick. Each stitch the top part of it looks like a V, as you can see. Oops. Let me get back into my stitch here. All right. And as you can see at the top of each of these stitches, it looks like a V. And you have what's considered a front loop, and you have what's considered a back loop. And that's what makes the V, the front and the back loop. We are going to insert our hook between that front and that back loop, and then we are going to do a single crochet in that back loop only. And that completes that stitch. We're now going to chain 2, 1, 2. Once again, we're going to skip 2 stitches, and it's the 2 double crochets from the previous row. We're going to come to the single crochet, and we're going to go into the back loop only and work a single crochet. And we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. All right, get a little bit more yarn here. And we're going to repeat this. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which again are the double crochets from the previous row, and you can see them there, 1 and 2. We're going to go over to the next stitch, which is this single crochet. We're going to go down between the front and back loop and go up under the back loop only and work a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. All right, and let's do it again. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, our 2 double crochets, go to the next stitch, which is our single crochet, go in between the front and back loop, go under the back loop only, and work a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip 2, come to the next stitch, which is that single crochet, go between the front and the back loop, go up under that back loop, and work a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're just going to keep repeating this, so let's do it one more time. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which are the double crochets from the previous row, go to the next stitch, which is the single crochet from the previous row, come between the front and back loop, go under the back loop, and work a single crochet. Chain 2, and then we're going to repeat that all the way across until we get to the last 4 stitches. When you get to the very last 4 stitches, I will meet back up with you there, and I will show you how to complete row 2. So go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll meet back up with you when we have 4 stitches remaining at the end of row 2. We are down at the very last 4 stitches. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to skip these next 2 stitches, which again are the double crochet stitches from the previous row. And then right here in that next stitch, which is the single crochet in that cluster stitch, we're going to work in that back loop only and work a single crochet. And then we have the chain 2 that we skipped at the beginning of the foundation chain that created a single crochet, and we're going to work a single crochet into that chain 2, and we're going to go under both loops. So we're going to work a regular crochet, a regular single crochet, and that is going to complete the end of row 2. And this is what our blanket is starting to look like. And you can see that nice texture forming, and you'll be able to see it more as we get more rows done. All right, so I'm going to work row 3 and row 4 with you. That will be our repeating rows. So let's go ahead and get started by doing a chain 1, turn your work, and to begin row 3, which is going to be our first repeating row, we're going to work a single crochet right here in the very first stitch as our chain 1. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which is the chain 2 from the previous row. And then we're going to come to the very next stitch, which is the single crochet that we created in the back loop only. And we're going to go right into the center of that single crochet stitch under both strands, and we're going to work our textured cluster stitch of single crochet and 2 double crochet. All right, and once again we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which is the chain 2 from the previous row, and we're going to come right into that single crochet right into the center of it under the top 2 strands there, and we're going to work our textured cluster stitch of single crochet and 2 double crochets. Okay, once again we're going to skip the 2 stitches, the next 2 stitches, which is the chain 2 from the previous row, come right to this single crochet here and work a single crochet and 2 double crochet all in that same stitch. And then again we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which is the chain 2 from the previous row, come right into the center of this single crochet, and we're going to work a single crochet and 2 double crochets. Whoops, I lost my loop. There we go. And then the last double crochet. And again we're going to skip those next 2 stitches, which is the 2 chains from the previous row, come right into this very next single crochet, and we're going to do the texture cluster stitch of single crochet and 2 double crochet. And skip 2, and then work single crochet and 2 double crochets into that very next single crochet from the previous row. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way down the rest of this row, and when you get to the last 3 stitches remaining, stop and I will meet up with you there. So go ahead and pause the video and work all of these stitches, repeating by skipping 2 and working in the single crochet from the previous row, the textured cluster stitch of single crochet, 2 double crochet. And I'll meet you when you get to the end and you only have 3 stitches remaining. We're at the end of row 3 and we have the 3 stitches remaining. So we're going to skip those next 2 stitches, which is that chain 2 from the previous row. And we have this single crochet on the end, and we are just going to work a single crochet into that last stitch. And that completes row 3 and also the repeat of our first row of our 2-row repeat. So for the next row, which is row 4, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and you can see how pretty that is already working up. That is just beautiful. We're going to work a single crochet right here into this first stitch, and then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, we're going to skip the first 2 stitches, which is the double crochet from the previous row. We're going to come right over to that single crochet, and we're going to go right in between and work under the back loop only and create a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 2. Once again, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which is those double crochets from the previous row. Find the next stitch, which is a single crochet, and go in between the front and back loop up under the back loop only and work a single crochet. Chain 2 and skip those next 2 stitches, and then go up under the back loop only of that single crochet and work a single crochet. Chain 2 and skip the next 2 stitches, go into the next stitch, work in the back loop only and work a single crochet. Chain 2 and once again skip the next 2 stitches, which are the 2 double crochets from the previous row. Come to the next stitch, which is the single crochet, and go under that back loop only and work a single crochet. And so go ahead and continue that all the way down the row, and I will meet up with you, let's see, until you get down to the very last stitch. So go ahead and pause the video and continue that repeat pattern all the way down to the last stitch, and I will meet back up with you. All right, so we're at the end of row 4. We have done our last little single crochet in the back loop only, and there's our chain 2. So we have 1 stitch remaining, and we're going to work a single crochet, and we're going to work under both loops. So go ahead and insert your hook under both loops and work a single crochet, and that completes row 4. So you now have row 3 and 4 completed. Those are your repeat rows. You can see already the nice little texture that this stitch is creating. On the back side, it's kind of a flat stitch, but on the front, it is creating this nice textured look here. All right, so for next week for Yarn Joy Adventures, we've completed rows 1 through 4 today. You're going to work on rows 5 through 12. And at the end of the 12th row, if you're going to change colors, you can go ahead and fasten off. If you're choosing to make your blanket all in one color, obviously you do not want to fasten off. You want to keep your yarn attached. But if you're going to make the blanket as I am doing and change out the color, then go ahead and fasten off, and that way you'll be ready for the new color when we come back together. Have a great week. Be joyful, stay crafty, and always look for Yarn Joy Adventures. I'll see you again next week.